Danya Perry is the former Deputy Attorney General for New York State, as well as a former Assistant U.S. Attorney, and she joins me now. I know you've been tracking this case very closely. What was the case ultimately here?
Ultimately, it was a big clunker. It started with a big bang and ended with a deafening thud today. As you pointed out, the special counsel was brought in under then Attorney General Barr to investigate the investigators. And it really was to try and examine the supposedly cozy ties between the Clinton campaign and the FBI. And what they came up with, as you said, is a whole lot of nothing. They indicted Michael Sussman, who was not exactly a household name, of one count of lying to the FBI, making a materially false statement in connection with his a tip that he brought in to the general counsel of the FBI at the time. And according to special counsel Durham, he lied about who his client was. He said he didn't have a client, according to the indictment, and according to the indictment, in fact, he was representing the Clinton campaign. As the jury found today, resoundingly, swiftly, and handily, there's no there there.
We should be clear, like, this is the first trial Durham has had, right? It's been 3 years. It was this attorney, this one count, that he misrepresented who his client was in this one interaction. The trial lasted for a while, right?
Couple of weeks, yeah.
I mean, I just want to be clear, like, there are murder trials in New York all the time that don't make it to day 4.
Yeah. This was a one-witness trial.
This was a one-witness, 2-week trial, 3 years in this investigation for a single misstatement, according to the indictment, that was the jury returned an acquittal on in 4 hours?
Couple hours, about 6, but it was over a holiday weekend. Usually they like to get their lunch, their free lunch out of it, and that's what they did here today. A couple of the jurors were interviewed and said this was not about politics. This was about a waste of governmental resources. They found there was no there there. There was no lie. There was certainly no intention to lie, and there was nothing material about the lie. It did not matter.
The broader scope here is that the animating, the impetus behind the Durham investigation was basically that the Mueller investigation was corrupt. It was rotten to the core. It was all this, like, elaborate con job put on by the deep state, teaming up with Democrats to take down Donald Trump. Now, never mind the Mueller report produces this huge report and 10 instances of obstruction, obtains multiple convictions before multiple juries, gets plea deals, etc., right? This has now gone on for 3 years, and, like, it really looks like bupkis.
Bupkis, I think, is exactly what the jury found today. That, you know, it's a case that is really outside of the heartland of what typically is brought by the Department of Justice. You rarely find a one-witness case. This was the testimony of the counsel to the FBI. That had happened 5 years prior. There were no notes. There was no recording. His own testimony was ambivalent. Maybe he said this, maybe he didn't. It would not have been brought, but for the fact that
Durham has to show some work product for 3 years. I mean, that's the natural conclusion here. Plus, it's a classic example of projection. I mean, it certainly looks, and you've followed the Durham case, which I've sort of flitted in and out of following in a close way. It certainly looks like essentially you have a situation where the thing has become precisely what, you know, they said the Mueller investigation was, this open-ended goose chase where, like, you have to deliver something or you can't justify it. That just goes on and on.
Yeah, I mean, former President Trump said this was the biggest political conspiracy, crime of the century, bigger than Watergate, and there was certainly a lot of pressure on the special counsel to find something. And this is what he found after 3 years, many millions of dollars, and a lot of wasted resources.
Can he just keep going forever?
There is no natural conclusion. There is another trial in October. Same thing, lies to the FBI by an expat Russian analyst. Small potatoes. It's not this broad kind of conspiracy that we've been hearing about for a couple of years. But he does, you know, he is outside of the Department of Justice, technically. So, as with Mueller, who understood when his time was up, hopefully Special Counsel Durham will do the same.
All right. Well, Danya Perry, thank you so much for that. Tip to you kids at home.